Meredith's here. Oh, did you?
I just didn't change the agendas.
Oh,
Okay. All right, go ahead, we're live, Commissioner.
I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order at 8:30. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolan.
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey.
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg.
Here.
Commissioner Clemens.
Present.
Commissioner Avery is absent. Commissioner Shoemaker.
Present.
Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent. Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Next up is the minutes from our last meeting
Move
on
'em.
February 9th.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do you have any public comment to the committee? Is there any public comment to the committee? Seeing no public comment, we'll close that. No communications to the committee, no old business, and on to new business. Circuit Court, approval of of purchase order to Justice AV Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $924,491.24.
Move it.
To
Support with a
provide for the
question.
upgrade of all courtroom recording. So it's been moved and supported with the question.
Yes.
Discussion.
Basically, what is this service going to do better than what we have? How's it gonna, probably expedite things, I'm sure.
Good morning, Commissioner Hamilton. As I've indicated in the memo, I'm here on behalf of Circuit, Probate, the District Court as it relates to the McCree Building District Court, and 5 referee hearing rooms, 3 of which are in the Circuit Court, 2 of which are in front of the court, which is a part of Circuit Court. So it's a total of all of the systems that are serviced currently by the JABS product. So as I've indicated in here, we received what's called basically an end-of-life letter, indicating that the company will no longer be able to guarantee that they're able to service the existing system. They've been in our courtrooms in the circuit court since around 16, the last upgrade. And they were first there, of course, as part of the Courthouse Square project. So what this will do will allow us to move into their next set of products over time. It's going to take time. We know that if this board is to approve it, it's gonna take 8 to 10 weeks for us to get the first product available, if you will. And then they'll do 2 courtrooms per week. So when you got 24 courtrooms, you have to displace judges, they have to work in tandem. Maybe we can arrange when they're on vacation or something like that. It's gonna take us at least 6 months to get this completely installed. So the updated features, in addition to having that ability to warrant the product, if you will, it has dual solid state hard drives in the courtrooms. Right now we have 1 hard drive and 1 backup. So if, for example, during a trial, something goes down and you have to reboot, I know it doesn't seem like much, that it takes minutes to reboot. But when you have potentially, a defendant in the box who perhaps is back from the Michigan Department of Corrections, sitting in the box, you got jurors over here, everything comes to a screeching halt. So with a solid state hard drive, it's seconds that it's back up, plus it has expanded storage. Second thing, the cameras are much better. The third thing is the microphones provide much more clarity. There's a big problem in a courtroom between clarity and amplification. You can't amplify a lot because you start getting feedback in the recording system. So the ability to have microphones that can provide that clarity assists in the average person understanding what's going on in a courtroom. So it's an improved product. It's a product that we think is reliable. The company's been extremely reliable. They're very proactive with maintenance. We've worked with them well. We have archival responsibilities as a court to produce that record later on appeal, or if a public person wants to buy a copy. It's just a big foundational piece to a courtroom. So if the courtroom system breaks, let's just say it breaks, and through all of the efforts of our IT staff, you can't get it going again, we can't go on. We have to find a human being to come in and be a court recorder again, which we haven't done for 20 plus years. So it's a really big deal for us to be able to do this. And I would add that it's kind of a time sensitive thing in that the courts are moving to e-filing. It's a matter of the Supreme Court is gonna mandate what wave of e-filing we're in. So if we have to stop because something's malfunctioning and retrain on something else, if you're thinking of should we go to an alternate product, the timing is really bad for that. We're backed up on water cases, criminal cases. Mr. Olson is here, the probate court is just getting involved with some of the civil water settlements. Judge Fair is gonna try his first Legionella case in September. So if we have to anticipate, oh gosh, what if it goes down, we don't have a part? I'm just indicating to you, it's a big piece of the analysis. The time
So
that
this
it's
is
bad.
basically, we're gonna be able to use this as part of the ARPA fund.
Yes,
And if we wouldn't have been able to, this would have been probably on your next budget.
definitely
Asking.
would have. We actually talked about trying to phase it in on budget years. And that's a bit of a tight wire act too, to know which ones do you do?
Right.
Which ones do you not do? They're all the same generation of equipment, so yes,
All right, so good timing.
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker?
I got several. First, one is IT in the area. Has IT been over this? And
So the court does their own IT, but they have been in communication with the county IT as well.
what do they,
They're in agreement.
because it's basically $1 million. Yeah, that's a chunk. Two, obviously I'm here, we did not send it out for bid.
Correct, we did not.
That's a lot of money not to send out for a bid. You know, and whether we want to stick with the same system or not, as I've always said, think it would be best that we actually send something out for an actual bid. You know, even if you want to stick with the same company, just as a good practice to get into, so it shows our residents that actually we are interested in that if something better came along or something more efficient or something more promising that was actually less or within a few dollars, we could switch to that. And I will never be a yes on anything that we don't, especially that kind of money we send out. And then my last one was, how many courtrooms will be done with this? How many courtrooms are actually gonna receive this system?
24.
That's what she said, okay.
Does that include the referee rooms, the 24 number?
It's everything that's downtown essentially.
Crystal.
That's not the out,
For explanation.
If this is
You'll need to
federal,
stand up and move towards the table so the
if this is
recording.
federal dollars, we may need to bid that out. I don't know if you have any other companies that could potentially bid on it, but this funding follows CDBG requirements and we'd be able to show the auditors that you did follow that procurement that requires it to go out to bid. So I don't know if we checked with other companies to see if they could bid on it. It doesn't mean you have to go with the low bid, you just have to go through that process, unfortunately.
We were not looking to do that. Obviously, if you tell me that ARPA funding can't be used if we do it, then we have no choice but to do it.
Is that part of the qualifications, Crystal, you think, for the ARPA money that it has to go out for bid?
Yes.
So is that a process that can be done in an expedited way?
Yeah, we'll just have to,
We have to postpone
Well, I guess I would do this. Number one, this system has to comply with the Supreme Court standards. My first thing is I'm gonna go back and check with the Supreme Court on how many other systems in the state of Michigan in service comply with those standards and go from there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And if there isn't any, then you
If there
did.
aren't any, then would I have your blessing?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah, we would have to document something, but we can.
certainly.
It's the sole source.
So should we move this forward or should we postpone it until we get those answers?
I'd
'Cause I-
motion to postpone.
Support.
yeah.
So 2 weeks? Can you have some information for us in 2 weeks or less?
I'd like to think so, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so motion is to postpone till the next finance meeting. Any discussion?
Well, actually, if she comes back with the information and,
Board.
yeah, can we just take it right to the board? Would you be comfortable with that, Sean? I mean, Commissioner Shoemaker, if they come back and we find out that,
I'm still, like I said, I would like to see it go through their own process, but if it's something they need quicker, if everybody wants, that's up to the chair if he wants to go skip the
Okay.
process.
All right.
From that standpoint, like I said, I think it's gonna be a little tougher. I'm sure there are other suppliers out there of this type of product, and we're gonna have to go through the process, and I thank both of them, both Crystal and Bart, for providing this information, so, but I think we're gonna go through the process.
Yeah, I have to agree with Commissioner Shoemaker. I'm totally against rollover contracts. I think they're exclusionary. It doesn't give everyone a chance to compete. So I have to go along with that.
2 weeks.
Any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the table is to postpone for 2 weeks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Under equalization, we have approval of a purchase order to BS&A for the fiscal year ending 2022.
Move it.
Amount not to
Support.
exceed $13,600 for annual software maintenance. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Just as always, I'm sure I know the answer, but this was figured in their budget.
Yes.
It was.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under fiscal services, we have an approval of an agreement between Genesee County and Maximus Consulting Services in an amount not to exceed $15,500
So moved.
to provide the development of a central services cost allocation plan. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Could I give a little more explanation of what this is?
Crystal?
Every year, we have to do a cost allocation plan. This takes all of our costs for HR, my office, IT, building and grounds, and it bills it out to all the user departments. You have to use a specific company, it doesn't have to be exactly this one, but a company that's been approved by the federal government because we are charging federal grants. So we do this analysis every year and then we send it out during budget time so all of the grants know how much they can charge to their grants for that specific fiscal year.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Forwarding to receive and
Move to
file
pay
a
the bills.
copy of the paid
Support.
county bills in the amount of $10,176,484.75. It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of proposed amendment to the 21-22
Move
appropriations resolution for various line items. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
If we could have just a little more of a explanation on this again.
Crystal?
So there's several things here. One is for reclassification of travel budget. It's just reclassifying it from other accounts. They were approved for their travel, but they didn't have that $900, so they're asking to move it between their grant lines. The Veterans Department has been using a temporary person from Kelly Services, so we just need to reclassify that expense from the salary accounts that go through payroll to that contracted services. The third one is, there was a new governmental accounting standard that we adopted for fiscal year ending 21, Governmental Accounting Standard 84. So for funds that we called agency funds before, they want you essentially to gross up revenue and expense instead of flowing everything through a balance sheet. I won't bore you with the details, but we need to set up the revenue and expense budgets so that now that we're charging them to those accounts, those expenditures are there. So an example would be the library millage. It's collected by the county. It's remitted from the local units. We just send it out to the library. It's not our money, but they want to see the revenue coming in and then the expense being paid out. Telephone charges for DTR. They've had a cell phone that they've been using when they have somebody work remotely. I think they're working on canceling it, but they still had some charges come through that they needed to pay. The hazmat vehicle team, that is a grant fund. They didn't have the grant at the beginning of the year, but now that they have it, they need to establish the budget to be able to spend it. 6 and 7, those were related to the Kronos being down, so our payroll department's been working overtime to reestablish the hours in Kronos, because those actually drive the, right now at the end of the Kronos hack, it looked like everybody was in the probationary status because they weren't working, and it drives their accrual hours for vacation and comp time. So payroll just had to reestablish that history so that calculation when the employees are going in there calculates properly. And then the number 7 is a credit from Kronos, so they gave us money to help offset our costs for reestablishing that backlog. There are some items in motor pool for revenue and expense. We did take on some of the GHS vehicles, so we did increase the revenue and increase some of the costs related to those. Number 9, this is federal revenue, so there were some positions that were approved in the resolutions that are identified there. This is also adding the revenue side, because just the expenses were included in those resolutions. And then the last one is just reclassifying, there was the contingencies budgeted in the JJC project. You did have some change orders that came through, so this is moving it from the contingency line to the actual building line, so when you pay those bills, it doesn't look like you're over budget. Yes.
To the chair, do you think the Kronos, the money they've given you is enough to offset what the employee costs are?
The credits
Putting that
were
information back in?
12,700 and the overtime we're asking for is 10,000, so it's a little more than the overtime.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Move on to G card. Approval of a proposed amendment to the 21-22 appropriations
Move it.
resolution allowing for budget adjustment across various Head Start funds. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under Parks and Rec, we have approval of a proposed amendment to the 21-22
Move it.
appropriations resolution transferring $52,146 between line items. It's been moved and supported. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I was just looking for a little explanation of
Barry?
yeah, why 52,000?
So this project was a green energy grant we got from the EPA for the Island Street area. It's owned by Uptown Redevelopment. There was an amendment to the contract to move some material on that site. This 52,000 is coming from CSMOT grant to pay for that amendment. And then there'll be a slight $1,200 overage that we'll charge Uptown Redevelopment. So we're redoing all those funds.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move items 2 and 3.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported for items 2 and 3. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Is there any county appropriations required for these grants?
No.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under planning, approval of proposed amendment to the 21-22 appropriations resolution
Support.
reallocating expenditures. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under sheriff, approval of a request to create post and
Support.
4 correction deputy positions. Said positions requested as a result of vacancies. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's just simple. I'm sure the answer is already in there, but these positions are just being refilled, so they're already in the budget. Correct? Yes. Thank you.
If I can speak to that real quick, I just got a text from my brother. We just had 2 more resign with less than a month on the job, 2 guys from the jail, so.
That number needs to be 6
now,
now.
or we just gotta wait till the next go around for 2 more positions.
I'm fine with I'll move to 6.
We move 6.
Yeah.
I'll support that amendment.
Okay. So the motion's been amended to post and fill 4 correction deputy positions. Or 6, I'm sorry, from 4 to 6.
Yeah, I have a question. Why is that happening? What can you do to maybe
Well, just
enlighten
speaking to
us so that that doesn't happen?
Yeah, speaking to a couple deputies recently, that left for local agencies, Flint Township, Davison Township are part of MERS. So there was a pay issue, just a difference in the deputy pay from the starting officer. They were getting a couple more dollars an hour, I know. And, they have a retirement, pension, and they offer healthcare and retirement. That's the biggest one. Healthcare and retirement.
Okay.
Is what we're getting from our people.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, cause we used to, as a county, used to offer like a retirement and like those things, and we're not able to do that anymore. So we really seriously have to look at our pay scales so that we don't be losing the people that we're training to other
Police
other
Academy.
people. So, we're working on it. I'm sure Gary's on top of it, trying to figure that out, being the finance chair.
Just one question. I know in the past, maybe a couple of years ago, when we had folks that actually went through the police academy and completed it and then left early, we were able to
Recoup some of the
recoup
money.
some of that money. Is that something we are trying to do, or?
Every day, yep, we're on the forefront of that, so yeah, there's several that are on the list that we're, in the process of recouping those.
Okay.
There's a case going on right now.
Five-year agreements they signed.
Yeah,
And we're successful at recouping the money?
We have been, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's handled by court counsel.
You can almost
Yeah.
garnish their wages,
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
No,
The first case we handled, we settled it with the blessing of the sheriff, Swanson at the time, for the cost of the academy. There's another, at least one, there might be upwards of 7 to 10 cases that may not be filed yet, but they're in the works of being filed. Brooke is handling them. She just won a summary disposition motion on the liability part, and it's set for a damages trial for sometime in mid-March. But we're looking to recoup as much as we can. And we're gonna be successful.
Okay.
The law is on our side.
just how much is it to train them? I'm just wondering.
I think the academy's about 5,500 to 6,000. That's just to send them there, then we've gotta backfill that position and.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
And the county pays them while they attend for 15 weeks. The county pays them to go to school, pays for
Okay.
their school.
I was just wondering.
I think the ballpark was like 14.
About 14,000? Okay.
all in at one point.
Depending on how much the person makes, what like would stage of their career that they
Okay.
And we only make them pick back 5?
That was the first case.
Get back what we
Part of the
can.
struggle too with what,
You'll need to stand up and come and talk so the mics can pick you up.
part of the struggle too, in your example, if they're resigning from us as a corrections deputy and going to Davison Township, they're going to be an officer on the road. So we don't have that luxury of hiring people directly onto the road too. So we hire certified people. That's great because we can use them once we can get them to the road, but there's an internal process that if they get an offer somewhere else, before we can get them out there, they can do as well.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? So the motion is to post and fill 6 correction deputy positions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Is there any other business before this committee? Seeing none, we will adjourn it at 8:53. Thank you.
Health and Human Services is next, right? If we.
Public Works.
Public Works.
Okay.
You can go right into it.
Okay, call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present.
Commissioner Avery is absent, Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent, Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Need a motion to approve the minutes
Support.
of February 9th. Any discussion or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any public comments? Any public comments? Yay. Any public comments? No comments. Any communication? Old business? New business? A, Director of Administration, approval of a request to purchase used
Move it.
vehicles for various departments in the amount not to exceed $90,000.
Support.
Any discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Shoemaker?
First, everyone knows the crisis, obviously, in buying new vehicles, and we can't get our vehicles and so on and so forth. But used vehicles are out of control. I'm sure everyone sees the posts around and everything else like that, where they're going. My recommendation, instead of taking the $90,000 out of this, is we actually do something that will be positive for our budget and actually remove the take-home vehicles that we have and alternate those, because there's some people that are using them at night, some people that are working days. And I think you'd be able to come up with enough vehicles, because there's 300,000 annually roughly being charged to motor pool for take-home vehicles. And I don't know the exact number, but before we go down this rabbit hole of $90,000, that maybe we do something positive and return those and put those back into the system. I'm not gonna be for this because, number one, you're gonna overpay by $4,000 to $5,000. We don't know. Do we know where we're gonna buy them from? So we haven't set any parameters of how we're gonna buy them, how much over Kelly Blue Book, or how much we're gonna pay over them. It just seems kind of rushed. On top of it, I still would like to get the take-home vehicle issue taken care of, because $300,000 a year in take-home vehicles is quite a bit to this county. And those are extra miles every day when they come in and they go home that are placed on those vehicles that they can be put out and used in other areas. So for me, this is a no. I know we need vehicles, but there we have vehicles. If we were to move things around in the motor pool, I fully believe we could actually come up with this, because what are you gonna get? How many vehicles do we plan on getting with this $90,000?
So it would be similar to what you guys approved for with Parks, where Parks was going to go to the auction, and if they found something that was usable, they had that flexibility. This resolution isn't saying that we're going out and purchasing $90,000 worth of vehicles, but when we have departments coming to us, for example, veterans, who need some sort of a vehicle to transport all of their stuff when they're going to events, rather than, and especially the way that the market is right now, telling the dealer that, you know, please reserve this car for me, and in 4 weeks I'll get you a purchase order from the county. You know, in that 4 weeks, that guy's probably got multiple offers more than what he was with the current market than what he is today. So this is just simply giving us some flexibility to be able to turn and burn when we have a need. In the memo, it did talk about working with purchasing to find the best price on the specific type of vehicle that that department is looking for at that moment.
Yes, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be, to give example for veterans, wouldn't it be cheaper if they needed to get a vehicle for right now, instead of paying $4,000 more for a used vehicle? If they were just that day they needed to, we approve something, let them go rent something at $100 a day?
That's a policy decision for this board.
Well, that's why I would talk about it, because I'd like to, thought it would been brought to us in Public Works beforehand. I mentioned this to you, I wasn't gonna be in support of this, because I'm just not. But if they need a vehicle, let's go rent one for $100, instead of paying $4,000 more for a used vehicle. And as somebody who's dealt with used vehicles for 25 years of my life plus, you don't know what you're buying. You still don't know what you're getting compared to the one thing I do agree with when we generally buy new is, guess what, there is a manufacturer's warranty with it that we aren't protected with that's gonna help us. And on top of it, who's actually gonna be purchasing these vehicles? What is their expertise to be purchasing the vehicle? Now, if you tell me Gary's gonna do it, I'm gonna go, yeah, I trust that. All right, so let's send Gary out there, because that's what he's done for a living. That's what he does to buy vehicles. So this is not, in my opinion, a great way to move forward. If we need it, I mean, I would suggest we approve something, allow them to go actually rent stuff for the days they need it. Because even if he needs it 52 weeks out of the year, he needs one vehicle, okay, that's only $5,200 at $100 if he rents it. And you can rent those cargo vans very, very reasonably for that type of event, and that solves veterans. Now, I don't know what the other departments totally are, and I'll be glad to sit down and talk, but right now, I encourage everybody, let's just vote no, and if you want to put a resolution allowing people to rent vehicles for now, because the average increase on a used car is around 40, I think it's, Gary, am I correct, around $4,700 for something?
Yeah, between 3 and 5.
Yeah, so I would just think we're better served holding that money and then renting until we can get our new vehicles actually in, which I believe Josh told me some of them are due in June.
Barry, have you had any luck, because you received some money for used vehicles, have you had any luck purchasing any used ones? But it's,
We had a couple come up, but they went way higher than Blue Book, and so we just said, get by until we find.
so you are, watching, make sure that you get the best for your buck and you're not overpaying,
We're
like,
looking,
so.
we're not having fun.
One of the things we have to consider too is this is not gonna probably end by the summer. It's probably gonna be at least a year, probably 2 years before you see the used car prices come down as the new car inventories expand, so just a situation that's gonna be longer term than we would normally expect it to be.
How many departments are needing, or people are needing needing these vehicles?
So for sure, Veterans has made that request. I know that we had talked previously about problems within the sheriff's office where all of their detectives that are out on the streets are driving Chevy Impalas with dark tinted windows. My understanding is that that's a significant issue for them right now. And part of this was looking at moving that inventory over so that it's not the same vehicle, same type of vehicle in use all of the time.
Any more discussion? Oh, go ahead.
As far as the sheriff's department, I was involved in that back, but was actually invited to ride around with one of the teams to actually see what was going on. I actually was with them when they pointed out the fact that everything was driving the same. Unfortunately, when we approved last year, when this board approved the fact we're only gonna buy General Motors vehicles, that limits you as far as cars. If they want cars with V6 engines that can actually get up to speed fast enough, that kind of limits you to what you can buy. So either you're gonna put them in a truck, which when they're driving around lots, not overly fuel efficient with the cost of gas and this looming war on top of us over there, which is gonna drive fuel costs up there, it's not a good proposition. And then on top of it, you know, you've got, trying to think of vehicles that actually are made by General Motors that are cars that are 6 cylinders. You got Impala and Gary, am I missing anything else?
Now they don't make cars.
And that's why at the time, I said American made, not just Chevys or GMs. And now we're stuck in this pickle again because there's certain vehicles they don't make. Because when I talked to the sheriff's department, they want it, because the number one vehicle they see in a lot of their activities that are very popular, that would fit in or blend, were Chargers or Challengers and stuff like those vehicles in addition to. And unfortunately, we've limited ourselves. If you drive by a Chrysler or Dodge lot, most of them out near me especially, there's one in Fenton there, it's very full compared to the General Motors lots that aren't. But we've locked ourselves in, you know, to this, so that could be a thought to solve that problem, is we need to change that, look at changing that policy. Because at the time, like I said, it really locks us in, and we're in trouble if they quit producing something. I still think, if we talk to Crystal, she probably, I don't want to put her on the spot now, but she can tell me how many actually take-home cars we have within there. Not right now. I'm not asking because I said I want to put you on the spot, but there are take-home vehicles that we could work in the system, and we let the veterans rent something for now until we can get them something. Because I was the one that spoke with them. I thought they need something logoed up, maybe stickered up that looks good, so when they pull up to some place that actually they know this is veterans, it comes out of their village. So people identify that, think, okay, I want to come over, this is who I need to talk to or whatever. But, I mean, I was pushing for a truck made over here at the factory. But I just, like I said, right now, I think it's a tough time to buy. I think we do have vehicles that we can move around, just like everyone else in our counties having to do with their families that don't, if they can't get a new vehicle, they don't want to go pay too much. They're making things work, okay? And I think we can move some stuff around to make things work instead of overpaying, and if that option doesn't work and we get done talking to Crystal, then guess what? Then you guys, please move forward with what you feel like you need to do. But I think that's a lot of money, as I've always said, $300,000 a year for take-home vehicles. And I believe Oakland County put their process of actually using take-home vehicles, and many other counties have. And I think it's about time Genesee County follows suit. Because Oakland County's a hell of a lot better shape than Genesee County is as far as financially. And my recommendation would be to actually, you can vote no, or you can postpone this however you want to do. And then Public Work could meet with Crystal, maybe come up with a solution.
So that's what you're suggesting,
That's
postpone it?
what I would like to postpone.
Support. So we have a motion to postpone and a support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Maybe we should, how was that, Josh? Did you catch it?
It sounded like there was 4 to postpone.
Okay.
How long?
At least till the next board meeting, or next committee meeting?
Crystal, how long before you can actually meet with
I can
Ellen
meet
and I?
with anyone anytime.
Well, you want to actually meet today with her after?
Sure.
Is that
We can do
is that
that.
okay with you? Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So are you
Alright.
postponing it 2 weeks then?
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, item 2, approval of sports field feasibility study.
Move it.
Support.
Any discussion?
I would just like Josh to explain how this is working and works so it's done clearly and so people.
Yeah, so earlier, I guess it wouldn't be this year, it would have been last year. The years kind of flow together here lately. We put out an RFP to do a feasibility study on whether or not it would be feasible to build a kind of a sporting complex that would be for soccer fields, lacrosse fields, baseball, softball fields, that sort of thing. I think we got 4 or 5 responses back on that, and we created a committee. Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Peppin, somebody from the chamber sat on that and evaluated those proposals that came in. And this proposal rose to the top. It was the top rated proposal from everybody who participated in the evaluation. The chamber has agreed to pay for 50% of the study, so the county is on the hook for, I think it's 29,000, something like that. And that'll be paid for out of our accommodation tax collections. Once we get through this study, we'll determine on how to move forward with possibly building a complex like that, how we would fund a complex like that, what that economic impact would be on the county for a complex like that, and whether it makes sense. So.
Any more discussion on it?
Josh covered it, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Parks and Recreation, B, approval of agreement
Move it.
between Genesee County and Sedgwick.
Move 1 and 2.
Yes, okay.
Support.
Any discussion on 1 and 2?
These were discussed in our park board meeting, so
Okay.
I'm definitely good with it.
All right, seeing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any other business? On this this meeting's adjourned at 9:07.
Okay, do we need a minute to go into the next one?
We can go right in.
Okay, next is Government Operations meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present?
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens. Present. Commissioner Avery is absent, Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent, Commissioner Peppin.
Present.
I need a motion on the minutes from February 9th.
Move 'em.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comments to the committee. Once, twice, 3 times. Moving on to communication, none. Old business, none. Under new business. Circuit Court, approval of a grant from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services
Support.
in the amount of $140,547. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, B, Sheriff, approval of the purchase order for
Move it.
Universal.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. This is for the laundry machine. Do you have any discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner Shoemaker.
I just make sure they've got the 3 bids and
My understanding it was processed through the Director of Administration and Purchasing signed off on it. I don't know about the bid process.
I think it went through an RFP process.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I wasn't involved in it.
Reading the backup information,
It said
Can you-
it
RFP.
was, from the backup, I
I'll go
thought,
back to the other page, I'm in the other agenda here, but that's fine. Next week I'll bring it up if it's.
I mean, I'll verify it for you.
okay.
Thanks, if it's in here, I'll just go to the
All
other
right,
one.
any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, approval of the purchase order for structured technology for the fiscal year ending 2022, not to exceed $8,280.
Move it.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion?
This
Yes.
is part of their budget, figure in their budget.
That was taken from their budget, yes.
Thank you.
Yep. And this hopefully will be just a 1-year deal as we get into that new building. The hope is we'll have a combined EOC with the health department and the emergency management, and that this will be rolled in as part of our IT costs.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have any other business? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
And that's it. You have to move.
Ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
They want to call the Human Services Committee meeting to order. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens. Present. Commissioner Avery is absent, Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent, Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
We have a quorum, approval of the minutes.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Any public comments to this committee? Any public comments? Any public comments? No communications, no old business, new business, direct administration, renewal and increase of the MSU extension millage.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Commissioner Ellenberg.
So is this renewal, what ballot will it be on? Will it be?
August 2nd.
Okay, August, that's when to make sure it wasn't in May.
Commissioner
Okay,
Shoemaker?
I was just looking for what said increase, just trying to see.
I believe it's going from 0.04 to 0.08.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
The reason for the increase?
Increased costs, we're currently working under a deficit, so we've had a deficit reduction last 2 years. Last year we had a deficit reduction of 100,000, this year we had a deficit reduction of 160,000. And this is really stabilization of the programs that we currently provide. If you remember, for every $1 we get from the county, we bring in $3.50 in state, federal, and other grants. We leverage the local dollars to bring in additional services and programs. So this really stabilizes our program, which last 3 or 4 years we've been operating in a deficit.
You know,
One thing I would also add to that is when they went out, it was a 0.4 mil, which is a tiny millage, but also they're taking less than that because of headway, so they're actually getting 0.32, so that's a big part of the deficit, they're getting less than they were even millage for.
Correct. Thank you.
if I may
Yes,
continue.
continue.
The only problem I have is one, our residents are already, because of the rate of inflation, under enough pressure to try to meet and pay their bills on top of it. So, you know, an increase to them doesn't seem like a lot, but 0.8 is, you know, or 0.08, it adds up to every dollar for everyone else, and unfortunately, you know, I mean, I'm hearing families all the time as they go to the grocery store telling me, guess what, things get tighter, gas is tighter, you know, for the average family between gas and the other, you're $300-400 a month just right there, and they don't have it. They just don't, because they're not getting the increases, especially if they have a union contract, they're stuck where they are. You know, and the employers are in the same position, so unfortunately, I mean, any increase to this, I'm a no, so, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Item B1, request
Move
authorization. Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 2, approval of modification. Properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Item 3, approval of proposed amendment.
I moved it.
Is there support?
Support.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, can we move 4, 5, and 6 because they're all grants?
Support.
Okay, properly moved and supported to move 4, 5, and 6. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item C, Health Department, approval of a purchase order.
Move it.
Support.
Properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Any other business before this committee? Committee is adjourned.
Man.
45 minutes.
We didn't break any record.